Hey guys, welcome to That Pedal Show. Dan here.
Mick here, hello.
Okay, Nick.
Modulation 101.
Modulation 101. I'm going to try and keep it really simple. Okay, we're just going to go through phases, flanges, chorus, vibrato, tremolo, and maybe a little bit of vibe if you're good. And just to give you guys a basic idea of what each one is, how they sound. Yeah?
Yeah.
So, really quickly, we'll just go through them, make some sounds on each one.
Yep.
Then we'll come back and explain them.
Perfect.
Okay, so, right. Our clean sound today is the Super Reverb and the Hamstead. Ready? Lush! Right, so that's the sound. Really clean platform so you guys will hear everything in detail. Okay, first of all, phaser. Gotta play that. Beautiful. Flanger. Chorus. Vibrato. A very exaggerated tremolo. And vibe. Lovely. Okay, so let's get back to the phaser. Right, this is a 1974 script logo Phase 90 by MXR, one of the most famous, coveted phasers ever. Basically, what the phaser is doing is it is creating a taking two signals. Thank you very much. Flipping them, putting them through what's called a phase stage, and each of these phase stages creates this notch, and then that's modulated, and it gives you that sweeping sound. So when you change the speed of the phaser, And actually, if you listen to it, so you'll hear the phase, that notch, go from low to high, okay? So it's not changing, we're not modulating the pitch, we're actually modulating the phase,
Yep.
right? That notch is what's going up and down, and it's a sweeping phasing filter, basically.
A sweeping phasing filter.
A sweeping phasing filter. Yeah. The phase 90 is a 4-stage phaser, all right, which gives us 2 of those notches.
Yep.
Phase 45 is a 2-stage phaser, gives us 1. But then you can have 8-stage phasers, 10-stage phasers, so you can go ridiculous number. But that is what that sound is, okay?
And we know that Mr. Gilmore liked it.
Loves it. Loves it.
In fact, after he had his, because he had a Vibe.
He did.
Uni-Vibe, and then he started to use the phaser a bit more, didn't he?
Yeah.
Afterwards.
He's used most things, but we know that he loves the phase 90.
Yeah.
Loves the Uni-Vibe.
Eddie Van Halen.
Eddie Van Halen. Eruption. That thing.
Phaser.
Phaser.
And of course, check this out for a link. Eddie Van Halen also used a flanger.
He did indeed use a flanger. Alright, that is a classic sound of a flanger.
That was Lenny Kravitz.
Lenny Kravitz, by the way. Anyway, that's and so that sort of whooshing sound you can hear.
So you may have heard Ibanez make a jet flanger, of course,
right.
And sometimes you hear Paul Gilbert play like crazy jet flange stuff. Only a flanger makes that noise, right?
That's right.
That kind of
Yep.
really pronounced filtering going on. This is not a joke, by the way. So an Irish guy, a Jewish guy, an English guy, a Scots guy walk into a bar and say, "What's the difference between a phaser and a flanger?"
Okay, it's really simple. The phaser has got that notch filter going up and down, so it'll have as many as, depending on the amount of stages of phasing it has. What the flanger does is it takes the whole signal and it delays it, right? The filter in the phaser, it's frequency dependent. That little bit of time shift is frequency dependent, whereas the time shift in the flanger is the whole signal.
Right.
So all the frequencies go together.
Okay,
Right?
which is why it's so much more pronounced.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yep, exactly. So it's about, the standard for a flanger is about 10, 11 milliseconds, right? And then what happens is that time, right? If you imagine, so you've delayed by 11 milliseconds, and then that time is modulated.
Right.
All right? So if you've ever taken a digital delay, if you've ever taken a delay, I'll show you how this works. I think this is really fascinating. I'm a big sado, but that's just me. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a long delay time, lots of blend, and just one sort of feedback. So I'm going to play one note, and then I'm going to change the time up and down.
So it's doing that, but over 11 milliseconds.
Exactly. Exactly.
Ping!
Right?
That's the light bulb moment I was looking for, Dan.
Light bulb! Right, there we go. So when it delays all those frequencies, and it modulates the time, and that is what gives you the frequency modulation, because the time is shifting. All right, that is the basis of the flanger and the chorus. To have a listen to the chorus now. Right, this is the flanger. Right.
Doesn't
So,
sound as extreme as
doesn't sound as extreme. The reason being that delay time is longer.
Right.
Okay? Example, the famous TC chorus flanger, all right? That little switch that turns it from a flanger to a chorus, it just increases the delay time.
Increased delay time.
Right.
So it's electronically then, whatever the word is, you know, physically it's the same thing happening to the signal.
Yes.
As in flanging as in chorus.
Yes, but it's
Except
a longer delay
flanging
time.
is more extreme.
Flanging is more extreme because those little the notch cone filter they call it. If you can imagine your sine wave, all right, in a flanger, when you delay it 11 milliseconds, those sine waves are much closer together, and where they cross over, right, is where all the magic happens.
Right.
Right. If we extend that delay time, right, you still have the crossover points, but it's not as dramatic as happens with the flanger.
And in the chorus then, so
Yes.
what you've got is the signal split and part of it remains dry and
Yes.
part of it is chorus. Does
Yes.
that happen in the flanger? Or is it all...
Yeah. No. It has to happen in the flanger.
Otherwise it wouldn't work?
Otherwise it wouldn't work.
Okay.
Exactly. That's the key. That's the key. So, and while we're on this point, so we'll have a look at the vibrato now.
Yes, that's why I
Right?
asked the question.
Yes. So if we have a look at the vibrato, which is this. Really extreme, okay? Exactly the same thing as we did with the delay before, modulating the time. Yeah? But now, if we turn the depth down a bit, speed down a bit, and then mix in the original signal, chorus.
So strictly speaking, a vibrato is changing the whole of the signal. Chorus is the same thing, but adds the dry signal to it.
Exactly.
Right, not to be confused with this.
Exactly. So that was a mistake.
Well, this is a vibrato.
Okay, that's a vibrato, commonly called a tremolo.
Tremolo.
Right. And let's have a look at tremolo.
So let's just make the point. Vibrato is perceivable changes in pitch.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep, the frequencies.
Yeah.
Right, the frequencies going up and down.
Yeah.
Whereas tremolo changes the amplitude.
Yes.
Right?
Tremolo is volume.
Tremolo is volume. Tremolo is your whole signal. So tremolo, your whole signal is going loud, soft, loud, soft.
And just in case you don't believe us, that's nice. So quite often with tremolo, you can, especially if you're hearing it in combination with other effects or 2 amps or whatever, you can get the feeling that something other than a volume pulse is going on. But it's just the volume pulse, isn't it?
It is just the volume pulse.
And the magic bit is the shape
Yeah,
of how it pushes the volume up and down.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's amazing how that has such a dramatic impact on the way that you feel about tremolo. For me, I love this tremolo. It's just so natural and beautiful, and because also the way it interacts with the valves and the preamp and everything, it has massive.
Yeah, I
massive
mean,
impact.
it would have been one of the first effects as such, tremolo, because
Yeah.
it was very easy to turn the volume up and down. And of course, some early Fender amps and other amps had what they call vibrato, right?
Correct. Which is tremolo.
So it's wrong.
It's-
It's wrong whichever way up you look at it.
Yeah,
So this is not a tremolo,
that is not a tremolo.
and that is not vibrato.
vibrato. Correct.
Right? This is a vibrato,
That's right.
right? And this, on this amplifier here, is tremolo because it turns the volume up and down.
Correct. Ah, yeah. I was scratching my head about that for ages when I realised, no, they just made a mistake, and that's fine.
I honestly thought that Fender made amps with vibrato in. But no, I mean the only amps that I can turn up that have vibrato in are the Magnetone jobbies.
The magnets, exactly.
Yeah,
not, yeah.
There may well be some others, but Fender don't make amps with vibrato in them.
No.
Right. So our final modulation then is VIB,
Vibe.
which is not vibrato.
Exactly. So. It's lovely, isn't it? I love that face you pulled.
What face?
Right, when I did the sharp 11. Okay, so
Takes us into interesting territory, this, doesn't it? Because so VIB is obviously after the Uni-Vibe, which multi-stage phaser.
it's the way they do the phasing that's different. They use like a lamp,
Yeah.
so and a photosensitive resistor, and it has a completely different sound.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it was designed to. I don't know if it was designed to. Yes, it was designed to replicate a rotating speaker, wasn't it?
Yeah. So
Ish.
Ish. Right. So
Which introduces. In fact, before we go any further, let's just hear the VIB and the phaser a bead.
Okay. That's the vibe.
Speed's the same.
Yep. So the speed's a big knob on the vibe.
They are similar.
Very similar.
Yeah,
It's a phaser.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it is a phaser. But yeah, just the way that they achieve that.
To me, so the big difference, of course, with the VIB is with that particular phaser, the depth is set.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, if you were to do this. So in layman's terms, if you want a more subtle effect that's not quite so gut-wrenching, phaser,
Yeah.
more subtle, and if you really want to churn it out, VIB.
Yeah. So, you know, the Hendrix vibe.
Yeah,
You know, those sort of sounds are used.
you
in,
can watch our show
You
on
can watch.
Vibes.
All I know is that bit. Yeah. Anyway, with vibe before an overdrive pedal. So good.
I think Jimmy had a crash, didn't he, at the Isle of Wight?
He burned it. He said, never again.
Okay, and just to prove the point, let's turn the overdrive off. Is that in two,
Okay,
the overdrive?
There we go.
So, obviously this vibrato has chorus and vibrato modes. If we just show you the difference between the chorus and the vibrato mode.
Here it does.
Very neatly showing you that chorus mixes the dry signal in and vibrato is all of it.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Good.
Yeah. But interestingly with the vibe, if you turn the vibrato back on, it is actually modulating the frequencies as well. But yes. So, apart from the tremolo, which is solely about amplitude, the rest have an element of delay going on, and then mixing that in various different ways. Okay, and that's basically how we get our majority of our modulation sounds.
Yeah, the conclusion being you need them all, of course.
You have to have them all. If you're like me, you have to have several of each.
Of each type, yeah.
And then you have to have a double that in case one of them breaks down and you're in the middle of doing something. But, you know, they're a wonderful way of adding character and just movement into your sound. I mean, it's really funny. So this is the vibrato pedal that Stephen Wilson uses.
Where's the horn?
We need our horn. Minions! We need our name drop horn! So, yes, this is the vibrato that Stephen Wilson has set this up on his board. He loves it. Not a fan of chorus, funnily enough, but he loves vibrato. He doesn't like having that dry signal there, the shimmery stuff. But what he loves is to take the chorus down. Just that bit of movement.
Well, so last week's, a couple of weeks ago, whenever this goes out, if you're watching on Dave, we did a show recently on wet-dry setups.
Yes.
And I think one place where, well, any of these effects, but particularly vibrato, can be really effective.
So what happens if you have a wet-dry setup?
Well, you're creating a chorus, aren't you?
There we go.
Yeah.
But it's massive sounding. The CE1, for example, it has two outputs, and everyone thinks, oh, it's a stereo pedal. Not true. If you plug in the two outputs, it simply separates the dry signal from the vibrato signal.
Blimey.
Then you get vibrato on one out, dry on the other. That's what that does.
Aha.
Ha ha ha! Ha.
Right. Okay then. So there we go. Modulation 101. Basic differences between phasers, flangers, choruses, vibrato, tremolo, and vibe.
Wicked.
I think we covered it.
Yeah.
Can you let's finish going through each of them again.
Okay, you go through each of them, and
All right.
I'll have a play.
Just so you can see. And yes.
You're going to play.
Oh, I see.
And I'm going to.
Okay. All right.
You know.
Let's do it.
Go on then. You need to press that button. Wicked. Here we go, guys. Hope you enjoyed that, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.